Welcome back to Infinite Abundance. If you're tired of fighting against the current, struggling with your finances, or battling discomfort in your body, today you're going to experience profound relief. We're entering the fourth chapter of the game of life and how to play it, the Law of Nonresistance. Florence Scovel Shinn reveals the best-kept secret of the great masters. What you resist, you multiply in your reality. Here, the author blows our minds with a revolutionary concept. What you resist persists. She explains that when we fight with anger or fear against a situation, a debt, an illness, a difficult boss, we're giving it all our energy and making it stronger. The key to prosperity and health is non-resistance. Blessing the situation, letting go of control, and allowing God or the quantum field to resolve it. Get ready to discover how the art of letting go of control and ceasing to fight is in fact the fastest way to attract holistic wealth and heal your body. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin.
Do not resist evil. Be not overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sweep everything before it. Jesus Christ said, "Do not resist evil," for he knew that in reality there is no true power in evil and therefore nothing to resist. Evil comes from our own vain imagination or a belief in two opposing forces, good and evil. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate from Maya, the tree of illusion, and began to see two dual forces instead of the one and only power, which is God. Therefore, evil is a false law we have made for ourselves through a sleep of the soul. This spiritual sleep means that our souls have been hypnotized by collective societal beliefs, such as sin, sickness, and lack, which stem from mortal, limited thinking, and our outer affairs have simply reflected these illusions. We have read in a preceding chapter that the soul is the subconscious mind, and whatever we feel deeply, whether good or bad, is reflected back by that faithful servant. Our bodies and affairs manifest exactly what we have been picturing. The sick person has pictured sickness. The poor person, poverty. The rich person, wealth. People often ask, why does a little child attract illness when they are too young to even know what it means? I answer that children are highly sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of those around them, and they often mirror the deep-seated fears of their parents. I heard a metaphysician once say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Mothers often, unconsciously, attract illness and difficulties to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and anxiously watching for symptoms. For example, a friend asked a woman if her little girl had ever had the measles. She replied promptly, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness, and therefore preparing the way for the very thing she did not want for herself or her child. However, the individual who is centered and established in right thinking, the person who sends out only goodwill to their fellow human beings and lives without fear, cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, they can only receive positive thoughts just as they themselves send forth only positive thoughts. Resistance is hell, for it places us in a constant state of torment. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for winning every hand in the game of life. It is the absolute peak of non-resistance. He explained it this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children, and of course, they had many different names. Now I no longer baptize children. Instead, I baptize events, but I give every single event the exact same name. If I experience a failure, I baptize it as success in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. In this, we see the great law of transformation founded on non-resistance. Through the power of his spoken word, every apparent failure was instantly changed into a victory. For example, a woman who needed to manifest financial supply, and who understood the spiritual law of abundance, was continually thrown into business dealings with a man who made her feel incredibly poor. He constantly talked about lack and limitation, and she began to catch his thoughts of poverty. As a result, she grew to dislike him and blamed him for her own lack of progress. She knew that in order to manifest her supply, she must first feel that she'd already received it. A feeling of abundance must always precede its outer expression. It dawned on her one day that she was resisting the situation and seeing two conflicting powers instead of one. So she blessed the man and baptized the situation as a success. She affirmed, "As there is only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity," which was exactly what he did not seem to be there for. Soon after that, she met a woman through this very man who gave her several $1,000s for a service she rendered. Shortly after, the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. Make the statement, "Every person is a golden link in the chain of my highest good, for everyone is the divine in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity we give them to serve the perfect plan of our lives." Bless your enemy, and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transformed into blessings before they ever reach you. This law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation. Send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. We can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding. My students have often said, "I don't want to be a doormat." I reply, when you use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will ever be able to walk over you. Another example. One day, I was impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no outgoing calls myself, reasoning that it might interfere with the one I was waiting for. Instead of saying, "Divine ideas never conflict. The call will come at the right time," and leaving it to infinite intelligence to arrange, I commenced to manage things myself. I made the battle mine, not God's, and remained tense and anxious. The bell did not ring for about an hour. When I glanced at the phone, I found the receiver had been left off the hook all that time, and the line was disconnected. My anxiety, fear, and belief in interference had brought on a total eclipse of the telephone. Realizing what I had done, I commenced blessing the situation at once. I baptized its success and affirmed, "I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law." A friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect us. She entered a crowded grocery store, but the proprietor left his customers and attended to the call himself. My phone was reconnected at once, and 2 minutes later, I received a very important call. And about an hour afterward, the one I had originally been waiting for. "Our ship's coming over a calm sea."
Let's pause here, because this is the key to understanding the quantum physics behind Florence's words. When you resist a situation, for example, when you look at your bills in fear or complain about physical pain, your brain goes into survival mode. Scientifically, stress blocks your cognitive functions and worsens your health. Metaphysically, by focusing all your attention on what you don't want, you're sending a clear order to the quantum field to keep sending you more of the same. Florence isn't asking you to give up, she's asking you to stop wasting your energy fighting a wall. When you say, "I don't resist," your body relaxes, your vibration rises, and you allow perfect solutions to appear. Let's continue.
As long as we resist a situation, we will have it with us. If we run away from it, it will run after us. For example, I repeated this to a woman one day, and she replied, "How true that is. I was unhappy at home. I disliked my mother, who was critical and domineering. So I ran away and got married. But I married my mother, for my husband was exactly like her, and I had the same situation to face all over again. Agree with your adversary quickly. That means agree that the adverse situation contains good, remain undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation to hold. An inharmonious situation comes from some lack of harmony within ourselves. When there is no longer an emotional response to a difficult situation, it fades away forever from our path. So, we see our work is always with ourselves. People have said to me, give spiritual support to change my husband or my brother. I reply, no, I will give the support to change you. When you change, your husband and your brother will change. One of my students was in the habit of lying. I told her it was a failure method, and if she lied, she would be lied to. She replied, I don't care. I can't possibly get along without lying. One day, she was speaking on the phone to a man with whom she was very much in love. She turned to me and said, I don't trust him. I know he's lying to me. I replied, well, you lie yourself, so someone has to lie to you, and you can be sure it will be the very person from whom you want the truth. Sometime after that, I saw her, and she said, I'm cured of lying. I asked, what cured you? She replied, I have been living with a woman who lied worse than I did. We are often cured of our faults by seeing them in others. Life is a mirror, and we find only ourselves reflected in our associates. Living in the past is a failure method and a violation of spiritual law. Jesus Christ said, behold, now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. Lot's wife looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. The true robbers of time are the past and the future. We should bless the past and let it go if it keeps us in bondage, and bless the future, knowing it has in store for us endless joys. But we must live fully in the now. For example, a woman came to me, complaining that she had no money with which to buy Christmas gifts. She said, last year was so different. I had plenty of money and gave lovely presents, and this year I have scarcely a cent. I replied, you will never demonstrate money while you are pathetic and live in the past. Live fully in the now and get ready to give Christmas presents. Dig your ditches and the money will come. She exclaimed, I know what to do. I will buy some tinsel twine, Christmas seals, and wrapping paper. I replied, do that, and the presents will come and stick themselves to the Christmas seals. This too was showing financial fearlessness and faith in God. As the reasoning mind said, keep every cent you have as you are not sure you will get any more. She bought the seals, paper, and twine, and a few days before Christmas received a gift of several $100s. Buying the seals and twine had impressed the subconscious with expectancy and opened the way for the manifestation of the money. She purchased all the presents in plenty of time. Man must live suspended in the moment. Look while therefore to see is to this day. Such is the salutation of the dawn. He must be spiritually alert, ever awaiting his leads, taking advantage of every opportunity. One day I said continually, silently, Isintatay, Infinite Spirit, don't let me miss a trick. And something very important was told to me that evening. It is most necessary to begin the day with right words. Make an affirmation immediately upon waking. For example, Thou Lord, totopos tayo mouse, Thy will be done this day. Today is a day of completion. I give thanks for this perfect day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders shall never cease. Make this a habit, and one will see wonders and miracles come into his life. One morning I picked up a book and read, Look with wonder at that which is before you. It seemed to be my message for the day, so I repeated again and again, Look with wonder at that which is before you. At about noon, a large sum of money was given me, which I had been desiring for a certain purpose. In the following chapter, I will give affirmations that I have found most effective. However, one should never use an affirmation unless it is absolutely satisfying and convincing to his own consciousness. And often, an affirmative is changed to suit different people. For example, the following has brought success to many. I have a wonderful work. In a wonderful way, I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. I gave the first two lines to one of my students, and she added the last two. It made a most powerful statement, as there should always be perfect payment for perfect service, and a rhyme sinks easily into the subconscious. She went about singing it aloud and soon did receive wonderful work in a wonderful way, and gave wonderful service for wonderful pay. Another student, a businessman, took it and changed the word work to business. He repeated, I have a wonderful business in a wonderful way, and I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. That afternoon, he made a $41,000 deal, though there had been no activity in his affairs for months. Every affirmation must be carefully worded and completely cover the ground. For example, I knew a woman who was in great need and made a demand for work. She received a great deal of work, but was never paid anything. She now knows to add, wonderful service for wonderful pay. It is man's divine right to have plenty, more than enough. His barns should be full, and his cup should flow over. This is God's idea for man, and when man breaks down the barriers of lack in his own consciousness, the golden age will be his, and every righteous desire of his heart fulfilled.
What a great liberation this chapter offers us. From today onward, whenever a situation tries to steal your peace, silently repeat, none of this affects me. I bless this situation and release it. If you're ready to stop fighting with life and allow abundance to flow, do you join our community by commenting, I release control. By doing so, you open the doors of your subconscious to financial miracles. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Infinite Abundance, and turn on notifications. At the end, you'll find the link to Chapter 5, The Law of Karma and the Law of Forgiveness, where we'll discover how to erase the past to clear your financial destiny. See you there. Have a peaceful and confident night.